for all the younger viewers out there was the original OG, one of the coolest gaming systems out there, was the Xbox, right? Jared, do you have any experiences with the Xbox?
It's going to be kind of difficult without mentioning PlayStation because they are their rivals in a way. And I do remember Christmas morning we did open up an Xbox and it was super cool. I didn't know what it was because I was really young back then. That was the only Xbox console that we bought.
I remember, like the first time I really played the Xbox, I was at my cousin's house. And it was so funny. We all have a love for lava lamps. Welcome back to the Sparkz podcast. I'm your host, Colton Backus, and my brother from another mother, Jared Quas. We are here again to talk about another marketing blunder. If you were here for the part one, or our first podcast, as you can tell, there's some things that are different. You are only seeing me right now, or you are only seeing Jared right now.
Yep.
Because we've upgraded. We've now got 2 cameras. So hopefully that doesn't make y'all dizzy, but should be good. Should get more entertaining. From the last one, it seemed like everyone enjoyed it somewhat, and so we're going to keep it to about the same format when it comes down to talking about this marketing blunder is the only way I can describe it. So, to get started, it's not what you probably imagine. This one was, for all the younger viewers out there was the original OG, one of the coolest gaming systems out there, was the Xbox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jared, do you have any experiences with the Xbox or the kind of like old school gaming? What were your experiences? I don't know what you call it. Memories, that's the word.
Yeah. So just to start, when we're going to be talking about this Xbox One disaster, it's going to be kind of difficult without mentioning PlayStation because they are their rivals in a way.
Yes.
But in my experiences, I think it was 2001 because that's when they first launched their original Xbox. And I do remember Christmas morning we did open up an Xbox and it was super cool. I didn't know what it was because I was really young back then. And we got a couple controllers, we got a couple of games. One of them was called Cell Damage. If you remember that at all, where it's like animated. You're driving in cars, and you just smash through some crates, and you get weapons.
Yes, I do remember that. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. That was one of my memories of it. And then later on, that was the only Xbox console that we bought. And then later on, I didn't really get another Xbox until 2020, because that's where everybody was, we're locked inside, let's play board games or let's get an Xbox, and that was actually the Xbox One S.
Okay.
What about you, Colton?
Oh yeah, no, I got those. Yeah, you're bringing back some good memories. I remember, like the first time I really played the Xbox, I was at my cousin's house, and it was so funny. I think we could all kind of apply, or not apply. We all have a love for lava lamps, and I remember seeing the beginning home, like when you start up the Xbox, it literally looked like a manipulated lava lamp. Like it had like this that kind of stuff going on, and I remember being like, "This is so cool." And then, shout out to Don and Sandy. They had the best gaming stations, and we would go over there and we'd hang out with the cousins, and we would play Shrek. And I think it was I think it was Shrek 2. I can't remember which one. Maybe it was just the OG. No, it was the OG Shrek. because there was this like one part where you would have to like be so coordinated. Back in the day, I don't even know how old I was, maybe like 5, 6, and you had to click like the you were trying to sing. You were Fiona. You had to sing and blow up birds with your voice, and you had to click like the X and the A's or X and the B's and the A's. Like you just had to like land it right on, and if you didn't get it right, well then you wouldn't blow up the birds. And I got stuck on that level for the longest time. And I remember just thinking, I need an Xbox so I can beat this bird level. And to be honest, I don't think we ever beat Shrek. So any viewers out there who have the Shrek game and would be wanting to send it my way, send it to Sparkz Marketing, and we will play it on the podcast to see if we can beat it. But yes, I remember that. Or my best friend Logan, he also had an Xbox, and it was like we were able to play like rated T games because that was like the scary thing back then, and it was Ghost Recon. So it was Tom Clancy's like the OG Ghost Recon, and we would play that all the time. So, and I was not 5 for all you crazy people out there. I was probably around 10, playing a rated T game. But yes, it was pretty awesome. So I do have some fun memories of the Xbox.
Did you ever get any Xboxes of your own?
Yes. Yeah, and then I did actually. Yeah, we should probably fast forward. I got the Xbox 360 when I was probably around like 2010 or something like that, and like the Kinect, and that was cool. And family like that was during like the Dance Central Just Dance era.
Oh yeah.
So everybody wanted to like actually dance, and I remember my mom.
But was it Dance Dance Revolution or?
No, it was with Kinect. Like you could do like the Dance Central, and you would just dance, and you had to mimic it exactly with the Kinect. But the Kinect had its faults, and it wouldn't actually follow you, so it was more of a frustrating game than an actual fun game. And my mom didn't like it too much because Just Dance was on the Wii, and we only had Dance Central on the Xbox, and she didn't like getting up, so she would just like sit down, and she was able to do all the dancing from her from the chair with her,
or from your controller,
from the controller. You press some different things. So, so that was like some fond memories of the Xbox 360. Oh, I had like this one game called Mini Ninjas, which was sick, and I was into sports. So NCAA, like the college games. I think it was NCAA 11. When it had Tim Tebow on the front, and I was like a big Gators fan, so thought that was cool. So I played a lot of NCAA. Skate 3 was also freaking awesome, and then I had I snuck in a game. I bought a game without my parents knowing, and it was Call of Duty Black Ops 2, and I still play that to this day. Nice. Yesterday I was still playing zombies. So Xbox 360 is still killing it.
Yeah, I remember I also went to my friend's house when they got an Xbox 360, and this is like a little bit off topic, but I noticed that the UI was very different from like the original Xbox and then the Xbox One, and to where we have the Series X. It was really strange. I couldn't get used to it.
No, it's true. It was a lot different. So, but yeah, and that's what we're talking about today. Is not only was that a slight fault, but there was a lot of faults when it came down to this marketing blunder or marketing disasters. That's what it's called. Marketing disasters of the Xbox One. So, Jared, you're the one who did a lot of the research on the Xbox One. Kind of take it away, like kind of tell like the beginning. Like I said, we all had Xbox 360s. There was like the big rival, like you're rather PlayStation or Xbox, and then there was these weird guys who were on PC. But usually it was like the cool kids had the Xbox and the PlayStation, and so kind of take it away from there. We kind of talked about the backstory, but talk about this.
All right, so we all know that PlayStation and Xbox were neck and neck, and it's kind of strange how they're always they always kind of know each other when they're going to release a new console, and I just think like are they telling each other?
They got it.
It's
I mean, can you imagine just like the absolute like just like there would be so many of like the fan base of one or the other that would be like, we need the
yeah.
newest thing, and so like their loyalties lie in the competition. But if one of them just gives up,
Yeah, yeah.
it's
So,
over.
so I'm convinced that they tell each other, "Hey, we're gonna release a console soon. Do you want to hop on board?" And Xbo's like, "Yeah, why not?" But other than that, so uh, this all started in 2013, and that's and I wasn't paying too close attention during that time because I was kind of like out in a phase where I wasn't paying too much attention in gaming. But um, the only thing that I kind of knew was Halo 4 was coming out, so I saw some Halo stuff because that's what I grew up playing actually. But when I was doing a lot of research on this disaster, a lot of things went wrong for Xbox, and
Oh yeah.
so what I kind of discovered was that they went first, and I think PlayStation was just kind of taking a back seat and just trying to figure out what their move was. But from here, we have a lot of unclear messaging. These are the key points, by the way.
Yeah.
Unclear messaging, like communication on new policies that were often confusing. Executive statements as if you didn't have good internet. Um,
Yeah.
and there were a lot of like tweets going on in that time as well. So some pretty popular ones that upset people were restrictive policies on used games.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I actually was just thinking about. I was like thinking back on the time, like 20. I mean, now for all you brain rot kids out there, you guys have never really known what the Wi-Fi game was like. Because back then, like 2010s, 2012, I remember my grandma thought Wi-Fi was lasers that were going through your head, and she didn't want to have any Wi-Fi in the house. So that was sad days at grandma's house. We never got to even play our Angry Birds on our iPod Touches. But we like that Wi-Fi was such a weird thing back then because it was like, and even like Netflix for all again, dating myself here, but I was a part of the whole Netflix with the CDs, and then the evolution of I actually watched Netflix on my Wii, and when that came out, it was pretty cool, but the buffering and the Wi-Fi and the streaming services, it was like you would turn on a 30-minute like episode. I don't even know if they had that back if they had episodes. Maybe they had a little bit, but it was like regardless, say it was a movie that was supposed to be 2 hours long. You would be like waiting or like in buffering time for like you would have to like schedule out a good 30 minutes to another additional hour that you would just have to like be buffering and sitting there and waiting. So your 2 hour movies would turn into 3 hours because of the buffering. And so I can imagine when people heard that, they're like, you have to be connected to the internet. It was like online gaming was just starting to really start to take hold, but there were still a bunch of LAN parties and people were still getting together, and that was just like a really like poor move on their part.
yeah. Yeah, so along with the restrictive used games, also you had to always be connected to the Xbox.
Yeah, which sucked.
Like even now, that's still a terrible idea.
Yeah.
Even though like a lot of games like to play like Fortnite or Call of Duty multiplayer, I get that you have to be online because you have to be online to play that. Um, but back then, I just thought it was. Back in 2013, you have to be constantly online and you have to check in every single day just to play a single player game that wasn't even online.
That's so dumb.
Yeah, so it was really crazy.
Wait, so what would happen if you didn't check in?
So if you didn't check in they weren't too clear on the policies of that, but if you didn't check in, that means you just couldn't play even your single player game.
That's so dumb.
So
Freaking Xbox.
unless you're connected and you check in, of course.
Yeah.
So, and then later on, another thing is that during the event, most of the time was spent on talking about Skype, TV integration, voice controls, sports, and so a lot of people were confused on, like, what is this? You know, who are you trying to cater to?
Yeah, they already got their Blu-rays, you know, like that's all they needed for their extra consoles, and now we've got, you know, this Xbox is just the what do they call those things? The Swiss Army knife of all things. Yet it's like that whole saying, the jack of all trades, master of none. Like they really just tried to expand their audience, and it was like they didn't even really listen. It's kind of what it sounds like. They weren't really caring about. Again, shout out to the past podcast. If you haven't listened to it, go and listen to it. But talks about how you're not really listening to your audience. When you start to get disconnected from your audience, like these were gamers. They didn't really care about their Skyping and freaking sports and whatever. Like these guys, I mean, there was like the arch rival of like the geeks and the gamers, and now we're saying, well, you're gonna watch sports. This doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, and then going forward, there were also pricing concerns. So when they announced the price, it was going to be $4.99, and it was going to be, and it was also bundled with the Kinect. And you know, a lot of people, you know, I don't want the Kinect.
Yep.
I just want the Xbox.
Again, technology that was way before its time.
Yeah.
Should have kept to the Wii. Nintendo.
Yeah.
You're the real ones.
Yeah. And then the other thing was that when, you know, hardcore gamers are looking at the specifications, they saw that it was weaker than the PlayStation 4, but more expensive. So that, you know,
they really dug themselves in a pretty big ditch.
Yeah.
And again, I just would like to also point out that why did they choose the Xbox One and not like the 720, right? Like, I mean, there was the Xbox 360, and now you're just going to go completely over the 360 and do a One.
Yeah, well, when I was researching Xbox during the time, a lot of people were thinking it was going to be the Xbox 360, the 720.
Yeah, should have been.
But then the Xbox One, and the naming convention is just out of whack.
Completely.
And I understand that if you watch the launch, and they were talking about, they didn't say this is why we named it. They were like more about like beating around the bush. And the reason why it was called Xbox One, because it's supposed to be an all-in-one entertainment device. I never knew that. I always thought, why is it called Xbox One? Like, is that just the naming convention they wanted to go with?
Gotta clip that one for a thumbnail. I didn't even know that one. I don't think a lot of people know that one.
Yeah,
so.
but then after the Xbox One, then you have Xbox Series. And then it's like, what the heck? Because what's after the Xbox Series, you know?
Trilogies.
And then you have PlayStation, like they have their naming convention with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then Nintendo is different.
Yeah.
Because they had like the 64,
yep.
GameCube. So I can cut them some slack because it's not like the same thing as a successor. It's they're doing new ways of how things are playing.
Oh yeah.
But then you have to switch 1 and 2, so that does make sense.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't call it something else. And
call it Switch.
Like the Super Switch or
the Miss Switch.
I don't know.
The Sandwich.
Yeah.
Whatever they want to call it. But yeah, no, I agree, and I think that was like, I remember being like, why would you ever want it to be called the Xbox One when you could have such an easy 720? And I know it's really funny. Like it doesn't really care. Like, when it all comes down to it, the the gamers just wanted something that was going to be able to be a good device to game, and they just completely missed their mark there. So
Yeah.
And as we can tell, they actually did. They could tell that they were starting to mess up. So can you talk about kind of when they really started to be like, okay, this isn't. We started to go like backwards. They started backward a little bit.
Yeah. So when they announced all of this, they had a second meeting at E3, and they talked about a little more about it. They showed more games. They even announced. Well, we'll get to that part later. But when they announced all that, it still wasn't clear, and we were months away from launch. And then came PlayStation, and this is where we mentioned PlayStation. And when they were introducing the PlayStation 4, they took advantage of the bad press of Xbox.
Yeah, as it should.
And what they did was they're not going to allow daily check-ins. They were going to
Thank you.
let you play older games, and they even made a video about this where two guys were saying, here's how to play used games or borrow games, and it's just one person handing a game to another person, and that was it. And then the mic drop moment was when they announced the price of the PlayStation 4, which was $399. So everything that Xbox announced was what PlayStation wasn't going to do. And a lot of fans and a lot of people who were watching during that time were like, PlayStation's gonna win this generation.
Yeah, they just won.
They just won.
Yeah.
And so Xbox backtracked their policies, and they were saying that everything we said on the policies we're not gonna do, but you kind of just dug your own grave.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it's like kind of like the insult, like when you get like your comeback of like you too, or like you're a loser. No, you're a loser. Like kind of like oh well, you're gonna do that. Fine, we'll back down. Like that's clearly they didn't get in a lot of fights when they were in high school or whatever, because that's not how you take care of bullies. You don't go down, you should go up. But they were just like, I can only imagine those execs sitting in their business going, all right, well, my mansion can't be paid for. Something happened. What did we do? And they're like, well, like if you want a list of complaints, you want it alphabetical, or do you want it like labeled like one? You want to go 360 one series? Because their numbering doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, like if they. I can imagine that being a very contentious meeting and being like, okay, we must relinquish our power, and we must like bow to the PlayStation gods.
Yeah, and one other thing that a lot of gamers paid attention to was this. I don't know why. During that time, Don Matrick, if that's how you pronounce it, when he was being interviewed, someone was asking him, well, what if you don't have good internet? And then, to paraphrase, he said, if you don't have good internet, you can just buy an Xbox 360. Like, that's something you don't want to say. Like, you want people to buy your new product. You don't want to go backwards. And so that just, that was bad. That was really bad.
He pretty much could have just said, if you don't have good internet, buy a PlayStation. Like, that's pretty much what he said.
Yeah. And so I have the sales figure, which is by the Western...
Wall Street Journal?
Yeah, Wall Street Journal. According to the Wall Street Journal, so this is recent, last year, but as of June 2024, they did some sales figures for Xbox versus PlayStation. So in the beginning, here, we'll give Xbox some slack because they were new. But PlayStation 2 has sold a lifetime of 155 million units. Xbox released in 2001, 24.7 million.
Okay.
And this is where they were kind of, against each other here. PlayStation 3.
Hold on, I just want to just clarify. So you're saying that that in 1 year they had 155 million people buy their console?
Oh no, not in 1 year.
Oh.
It's just the lifetime sales.
Oh, up to
as
that
of as of last June.
Oh, okay.
And then PlayStation 3 sold 87.4 million, and Xbox 360 84.9 million. So they were almost neck and neck during that time.
Yeah.
But what really crushed Xbox was what we were talking about before. PlayStation 4, 117 million, and then Xbox One, 57.9 million.
So literally it's almost less than half, or almost exactly half.
Yeah.
I'm not good at math, but it's about there.
Yeah, and then for PlayStation 5, 61.7 million, and then Xbox Series S and X, 28.3 million. So, from that time, they dropped the ball.
Yeah. Okay. I got a weird question though. Yeah. This is like again, we've talked about the lifetime, but I think maybe in the beginning those were like the lifetime sales, but I don't know how you go backwards.
Well, it's just that. So that's where the Wall Street Journal took it, and for example, PlayStation 4 was discontinued and Xbox One was discontinued. Some time ago, but they only did it from that. So obviously Xbox is discontinued.
I get
what you're saying. It's just taking from when they were released to when it was discontinued.
Okay, I get what you're saying. I thought you were saying okay, did we just the 150 or whatever that is, 175 million people, we just had to divide it up?
Yeah, those are just the units.
Yeah.
The units sold.
That's units sold. So okay, just for all the viewers out there of what that was all about. So that makes a lot more sense. Thanks for clarifying that, Jared.
Yeah.
So when they got discontinued. Probably from 2013 to 2020.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And so
still a lot of consoles.
Yeah, that's a lot of cash. That's a lot of plastic there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Silicon. So I just wanted to point out a little bit of the timeline for Xbox. So launch day was November 22nd, 2013, and Xbox One with the Kinect price was $499. And then May of 2014, the Xbox One was announcing their price drop. And then when they launched the price drop, that was in June 9th of 2014. And then when holiday hit in 2014 of November, they ran a promotion with bundles, and that was going to be at $350. And then in 2015, that's when the bundle price for $350 became permanent.
Wow.
And then later on in 2015, they dropped the Kinect, and people just forgot about it.
Which is so sad. Rest in peace. All of my my Kinect, I was gonna say Kinectimals, but they weren't those. It was I remember there was a Kinect game as well that was on. What was it? It was like this. It was kind of like this adventure game, but you were running and that's what it was. I was again throwing it back a little bit here to all the Biggest Loser watchers out there. There was a game called. It was Jillian Smith was one of the people. Jillian Smith's Adventure. And dude, that game got me sweating more than any. I mean, I've played a lot of basketball, baseball, football. That thing got me sweating in 20 minutes of what I would actually sweat in a full length football game.
Mm-hmm.
That thing was sick, and
Yeah.
it never worked. So you had to work like extra hard to make it work.
Yeah.
And yeah, there were some old games that rest in peace to the Kinect.
Mm-hmm.
But it was crazy. You had to have like this super open space, and they would track the space and saying like if you don't have the most adequate amount of space, like you couldn't play the game or you couldn't play the Kinect. Which also for all like the smaller households out there, like they would literally have to like clear out like, oh, Jimmy, you're not sleeping tonight. We're playing the Kinect or taking your bed out, and it's like
Yeah.
like there was some serious logistical issues when it came to Kinect. But
Yeah.
man, the sweat you got from the Kinect was unlike anything else. It's like, like those certain feelings you get when you were a kid. Like the first time you ride a bike. Like dude, the first time I sweated playing the Kinect.
Mm-hmm.
Got me right here. But yeah, go on. Sorry, just had to
no
relive the
problem.
the Kinect phase.
Yeah. And even then, so after, and then later, Phil Spencer, who is the current CEO, stepped in, and he even said that this was the worst generation for Xbox to lose, and it makes sense for them to lose that.
Yeah.
So after we talked about all this, there's one thing that I did wanted to bring up that I kind of noticed. Like if you have a current console right now, not the Switch because the Switch doesn't do all that, but on the PlayStation and the Xbox, the dashboard for gaming is the highlight. But if you go into like different menus, you can pretty much go on YouTube, the web browser, and do everything that they were doing, that they were showcasing, and it kind of makes you wonder. Yeah, the Xbox was ahead of its time, but I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just they just presented it the wrong way.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, when you're at like the big release, like you want to showcase to the gamers that this is going to be the best console.
Yeah.
And they didn't really. They spent, I can imagine, in the product room of like, okay, what we want to do about the Xbox 720. They said not the 720, the Xbox One because it can do it all.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, if it can do it all, like it's all gonna just we're gonna lose everyone. Like we don't care. It's like the kind of the words of Marty McFly from Back to the Future.
Uh-huh.
Like I know you hate it, but your children's gonna love it, and
Yeah.
that is like a time stamp on, or that is a law that should be echoed through the ears of Xbox users. Is yes, we didn't love them in the beginning, but we sure do love them now.
Yeah.
So we can't be hating on the Xbox too much. Like I said, I'm still playing my Xbox 360 yesterday. So.
Mm. Yeah, I really do like Xbox, and I guess the final topic here is what we learned is, for me, what I've learned is that they could have done better on the presentation.
Yeah.
I know that was the main focus, but I don't remember if you could have done some of those things on the 360.
Yeah. No, I think you still could. Like I was just
Okay.
thinking back, like you could search on the Xbox 360.
I guess the browser wasn't as good.
Oh no, it was nothing. But
Yeah, so the presentation could have been worked at, and I think of like instead of just focusing mainly on that, I know they wanted to do that because they wanted to highlight its capabilities.
yeah,
But I guess they should have just swapped it, like gamers first, of course, and then you can talk about the new features.
Yeah.
And like in my point of view, that wasn't a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem that got gamers angry was you had to be online all the time and check in, and you couldn't borrow or play old games.
Yeah.
That was I think for me that was more of an issue.
Only Apple can do that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you had like the charging thing, like that was during the charging wars. And I guess we're at the end of those. Thankfully, we're out of those.
Yeah.
But I remember when Apple like released their like you could only use this certain like chart like the lightning cables or like they had to go through all these like the fat ones. Then you went to like the lightning cables. Then you went to the USB-C ones, and which thankfully that's where we're at now. But yeah, it was interesting. Like when they did that, it was like, oh well, fine. We'll just all of us Apple users will just have to abide by this.
Yeah.
But like for Xbox, when it comes to gaming, like this is which is so funny because it's essentially if you were to compare apples to apples here, it's like you can't have a phone without a charger. You can't have games, or you can't have an Xbox without games. Like it's literally just a paperweight. Both of them are paperweights without games with them. So, just interesting when you're looking at other marketing tactics and like so maybe that wasn't the biggest thing, but because they didn't put the gamers first, and I mean it also like it takes time to create these awesome games and like these, gamers wanted to binge. They didn't just want to play one game or two games or whatever. Like they wanted to play their whole catalog, the things that they had, been doing paper routes for and had been saving up money so they could go to GameStop and buy themselves, their $50 game. And now you just have to say, well, now all those are paperweights. Like it's like a relic. It's like a trophy cabinet is now your Xbox 360 games. And I think that was something really scary for gamers. And it was pretty like as far as like the birth of like gaming and stuff, like it was still pretty new. I mean, the Xbox had been released on what day or what year? The 2000, and in the matter of a decade, like again, like back then there wasn't that many games, but like a decade's worth of games, a little more than a decade's worth of games, is a lot, and now you're just gonna go start something new. So yeah, that was stupid.
Yeah.
Bad on Xbox, but could have been worse, I guess.
Yeah.
Still hear about Xbox?
Mm-hmm.
Hear about MySpace?
No.
Hardly. No. So I think for me, one of my takeaways from this is, from marketing's perspective, again, you always want to put your clients first. Your audience has to be your number one. When you're making decisions, whether it's product or if it's a new food you're releasing, like you got to think about your audience. But then on top of that, you also have to know that like when you release something, like you have to just own whatever it is. Like you don't just cower down to the bullies and say that we're gonna do this different. Like the fact that they didn't even change a whole lot, they just went down to PlayStation's level. Like that was pretty sad of them. So, yeah, I just think that there was a lot of things they could have done better. I think something they did do good though was, like I said, they prepared it for the future generations, and when they did that, it still makes Xbox somewhat relevant. I know there's still a lot more PlayStation users than there are Xbox users.
Yeah.
But at least they still have some relevancy. And I still think that there is, I wouldn't say I'm a sweaty gamer by any means, but I definitely do play games. And I would still say there is still rival competition between Xbox and PlayStation. Like, I don't even think, again, put me on blast, audience, but I don't even think there's that much of a competition between, like, even like Switch coming up. Like it really was the titans of PlayStation and Xbox, and then there was like, oh, you want family? Like get the Switch.
The Switch is I don't know. Switch is on a different level.
Yeah, they're not on the same level as like the PlayStation and Xbox. But it's interesting because if you were to think about like any other console that rivals the Switch, it has to be Xbox and PlayStation. So even though they're not really in the same category, they still have to be. They're still taking users from them. So, Yeah. So again, Nintendo, I know like they're also doing new and like breaking through like barriers and stuff. Um, and the Switch 2 looks pretty awesome as well. But yeah, I think overall though, Xbox is still somewhat in the game.
Yeah, they're still alive.
They're still alive.
They're not doing horrible like JCPenney was. So
Yep.
still
Exactly.
kicking.
Still kicking. They haven't filed for bankruptcy as far as I know.
No.
So, and that's good.
Yeah.
So, but I think that's it. To wrap it all up, I would just say PlayStation or Xbox users, you choose. Leave them in the comments. And yeah, any feedback that you have for this podcast, we would love to hear from you. So, as always, I'm Colton, Jared, and this is Marketing Disasters on the Sparkz Podcast. We'll see you next time.